Well, what's the crack? How are you getting on? You're all very welcome to another episode 2. Wouldn't you believe I've cracked rugby? Well, delighted to be back. We're back in the saddle, lads. We have rugby. We have some serious rugby going on. Cannot wait to get chatting about it. Of course, we do have a special guest lined up. Christ almighty, I nearly collapsed. This man will be making a return because he is that funny. He's absolutely brilliant. Thank you very much to everybody for the very kind words. Anybody coming over from Buckshot or the Tom and Jerry show or any other podcasts that I've been on, delighted to have you. Anybody brand new who's just a rugby enthusiast, this is a very lighthearted, good crack look at the weekend's rugby. Primarily, of course, I will be looking at the home provinces here, maybe dipping a toe if we have the opportunity time-wise into some of the other, Premiership and whatnot, some of the international stuff that's gone on. We'll just have a gander. Delighted to have you on board. I'll be doing more ramble pods and whatnot. If you're a person who wants to find out more about me, you're going, well, who the hell is this guy? There's 200 episodes of Buckshot out there. All the videos from Buckshot are up on my Patreon page, which if you follow the link below to support the show, support all the shows essentially, you'll get to see much more stuff. You'll get the ad-free versions of all of this. If you're watching on YouTube, I'm putting these videos up for now, but eventually these will all go behind the Patreon paywall as well. But other than that, you're all very welcome. Let's jump straight into it because my interview is extremely long with our guests. So we'll get into a bit of the rugby. First up, I suppose the handiest one, because I just started making notes first on this one because I watched this one live. It was the Munster match. Munster were playing the Seashell Sharks. The Seashell. God, could they have gone with another company? Good Lord. Come on. Seashell Sharks. Really? You couldn't have gone with just, I don't know, Amazon Prime Sharks or something like. Oh, anyway, we were high hopes of the big South African teams coming down. Now, I know, of course, they are shorn of a lot of their South African internationals who are, away in the rugby championship, which, by the way, I don't know if anybody saw the really weird photo shoot, behind the scenes photo shoot between Australia, New Zealand, and South Africa. The three captains all came together, all shaking hands, lovely for the photographs. Where the hell was the Argentinian? Argentina, they're like, look, they're not going to beat any of us. So sure, what's the point in bringing your man on? Like, come on. I know there was a bit of a backstory to it that they were all, they couldn't make it one day and this crowd couldn't make it another day. And when they finally got together, they forgot to kind of call Argentina. But it's cruel. But we were expecting big things from the Sharks and the Bulls coming up from South Africa to Munster and Leinster, respectively, and they were a bit shite. I know people are saying it'll take time. They didn't look at the races at all. And Munster, on the Munster match, truth be told, they look rusty. Joey looked rusty. He was a couple of magic moments where you could see a special player wouldn't know where to be, where he was, that kind of way. He was in the right place and something, but just weird old things like kicking it out in the full, confidence wasn't 100% in. It'll come. The guy has natural flair, but there was handling errors. You know what I mean? Dan Goggin fired it out over the line and stuff like that. Couple of gammy passes, drop balls, just penalties and whatnot. Couple of players looked on fire. Zebo looked, as he always does, but he looked trim. Even though he got a kind of slightly bigger jersey, like he looked fast. Peter O'Mahony looked like he was ready to tear the heads off people. Back at his best. He was hitting fellas in the 60, 70th minute with tackles, jumping up, hitting other fellas with tackles. There was definitely great intent there. Albeit, it was a full strength, full noise Munster team out, more or less, without, let's say, Keith Earls, Conor Murray and Tyke Byrne. Other than that, it was pretty much full noise. And they should have cleared them out of it. And they did. There was a few points, all right, where Munster got caught on the wings and stuff. They got caught out wide, and it's like, okay, you got to fix that. But more than anything, look, maybe the Sharks were coming up with low confidence, going, look, we don't have our big names. We're going to get our arse handed to us here. Maybe it'll take a couple of weeks. I don't know, but it wasn't to set the world on fire kind of thing. That there was a couple of lads that were good. Do you know what? There was one lad, Chamberlain, touch of a mullet. Just throwing it out there. Touch of a mullet. I was happy enough with him. He was the out half, but I mean, Jesus Christ. Some of the Munster players are coming to the fore now at the minute, and I'm very, very excited. You're looking at lads like Gavin Coombs. They talk about, second season fever and all the rest. He won't get it. Like 2 tries already. 2 tries. He had 15 last year. Do you know? I mean, he's knocking on the door. I know there's a couple of lads in Leinster like Caelan Doris and stuff like that are number 8. But how are you gonna keep this guy out here? Incredible stuff. Zebo bagged 2 tries, of course. He just looked to be loving life. Just looked to be loving life, giving all little nice little words to the young fellas around him, like Big Daddy's Zebo, giving the Z sign up to the audience. They loving it. It's what rugby is supposed to be about. Good crack. And Zebo was full of loads of it. It was weird seeing Gerhard Grobler which sounds like a Bond villain, doesn't it? Gerhard Grobler. He was playing for the Sharks, former Munster player. Not disgraced is the wrong word, but he had to leave on kind of bad terms because of his past. Came up that he had, he'd been nabbed for steroids years and years ago, served his time, thought he'd plow on, and it was like the conservative Irish public, of course, are like, that's a disgrace. What? The guy served his time. He took juice as a young fella. Yeah, it happens. And he served his, but anyway, he's going incognito. He had a big mustache and like a top knot and everything. He looked like a Colombian drug dealer or something. Big, tall Colombian drug dealer. Now, what was going on? He didn't look a patch of the lad that he was. He didn't look a bit South African anyway. He looked Colombian. Craig Casey, of course, played out of his skin. He got player of the match. But for me, I tell you one thing. I don't know where they're going to crowbar in Earls, Zebo, Conway, and Mike, because Conway was on fire. He was just sparky as hell. He got a nice crack over the Ep2, pumping blood and stuff. But Mike Haley, like, he's an unsung hero. He's a bigger man than you think. Like, when he hits into fellas, he drives them backwards, even though he looks kind of rangy and skinny and stuff. He was there mopping up all ball. I mean, it's going to be a tough one to try and crowbar in Earls wherever he's going to go. And you got it. And I don't know what Zebo's put his hand up. It's going to be a tough one. I wouldn't like that job of pulling either one of those lads in, but my only real big disappointment, I'm trying to be understanding here of the Sharks, but my big disappointment was I was expecting more from Vernon Cock. I know. A great name. The long-haired fella, like, he was hard as hell against the Lions. I just thought, here we go. This fella's going to be fucking tearing it up. But he didn't. He didn't do, he was kept quiet. It was almost like a lack of belief. I suppose maybe too, they're shocked to the system too. That had nobody at all, and all of a sudden you go to Thomond and it's half full. Even though Thomond was kind of muted too, like, it wasn't, the Deathly Hallows that it normally is. Like, but at the same time, it would go down as a bit of a hiding. But I'm hopeful for bigger things. But overall, great. I mean, the final try for Munster, you know what I mean? You've seen like Snyman coming on there and just holding the ball like a child's ball. See it? His massive fucking paws just holding things. He flicks it off to, I don't know, was it to Osborne or whoever, to the scrum half, and just out through the backs. And then Dan Goggin put through a beautiful kick. Fairness, would look kind of, it looked quite lazy towards the end where Thomas Ahern but I guess all the critics are saying now that Munster have all the things that they said they needed to do to go and win trophies. So I know it's very early to be talking about this kind of stuff, but they kind of do have all the things now that would constitute winning a title. They have everything. I mean, okay, people would say, oh, well, they're loose, their front row isn't. Listen, get it away from the scrums. Look at the back line. Like, when, Delande and Farrell come back as well. Jesus Christ. So there's no excuses, unfortunately, now. That's it. No excuses. Now it's down to what the coaches can do with it. But all in all, I think that one, it ended up 40 something. I should really have written that down. 40 something, 70. It was a hiding. It was a hiding. Not least the hiding that Leinster gave the Bulls, which I think we were all expecting more, because the Bulls have won the Curry Cup. Like, Now, I know they're shorn of a load of lads, but at the same time, the drop-off in standard. At least, I mean, maybe they got to, it was the Aviva, they pissed the bed a small bit when they got to the Aviva because there was 20,000 people at it, but at the same time, like, do you know, 31-3. 31-3. Yeah, they had fairly full noise. Not, sorry, not all the way, you know, didn't have Robbie Henshaw back. Albeit, was it Frawley, is it? Who's in? Yeah, Frawley. Frawley, the out half goes centre. Ollie's big enough to be a centre, no bother. I like that. And I'm guessing the reason behind putting him an out half into centre is just to, I know they talk about extra playmaker and it means fucking nothing when you just say it like that and continuously saying it like that. But the idea is, if you can't, I'm not saying Johnny Sexton's busted, but he is worn a small, you know, the Giants have to be worn on him a small bit. Like, mechanically, he's got to be slowing down a bit. So at least if you've got another guy and not just a monster outside who's going to crash it, if you've got another guy outside who can do the same thing, it almost compounds Johnny's effort. So if Johnny's running at 70%, we'll say what he's capable, you know, what he used to be able to do. If you have another fella right on his shoulder who has the ability to be a center as well as an out half, throws another 10-15% on Johnny's, you know, because they want him to go forever. He's like Peter O'Mahony now with the old, and myself, I know I just aligned myself with two lions essentially because of, you know, the sides of our hair turning grey. But that is it. And I share a surname as Peter O'Mahony. That's it. That's where the alignment, that's where it drops off, goes off the side of a cliff. But they were, I think they have to be favourites again. They just looked, I thought Munster were, you know, they played what was in front of them, you can say that, and there was a lot of heart and stuff and a lot of cool shit happened, but like, Leinster don't look like they've been away at all. They don't look like they stopped. It's just, they look rapid again, like, you know, from the base of the ruck. Jesus Christ, like, they just look class. Like, relentless, just relentless. We're going to keep it at you. Not tons of invention, but at the same time, absolutely no mystery to them what's happening. You know, it's not like, hey, I think I want the ball out. No, it's they absolutely know their role. Meticulously, they know their role. You know what I mean? So McGrath's, they're just hoofing it out the back. I mean, they just look the real deal all over again. It's going to take some beating to beat them. And as it stands, you're looking at Munster Leinster in the final again, as it stands right now. And while Munster had all the, you know, more or less the majority of their guns back the other night, barring, I guess, 4 starters. But the ones that filled in used to be starters to a degree, if you get me. So it's not complete greenhorns either. Like Goggin and Scannell have been starters plenty of times before. Nothing at all wrong with having, you know, fucking RG Snyman filling in there for Byrne, or Klein, shall we say, filling in for Byrne. And, you know, and Craig Casey, I tell you what, he's going to make it difficult. But at the same time, Rhys Ruddock, for me again, like, he's kind of, he gets a lot of airwaves as being an unsung hero, just like Mike Haley a small bit. But it's proper. Like, he's animal strong. He's fucking animal strong. And he was class again the other night. Like, his problem being is that he's a back rower. Like, on the Ireland, people keep on asking, why is he in the Ireland side? It's just, well, who was there before? Like, Sean O'Brien was there before. Josh van der Fleer looked fucking unbelievable. Like in A Man Reborn. Like, he's gone away to some retreat somewhere, or he's doing the float baths or something. He's gone off. He's done ayahuasca, I'd say. He's been a monk for a while. Something. He's come back. He looks 5 years younger at the speed of him. Unbelievable. And Porter, I like Porter's hair. I don't know what's going on. He's a real rocker, isn't he? Like, there's potential for a mullet in there. There is definitely potential for a mullet in there. And I appreciate that. And he's a fucking class player too. Like, you know what I mean? He's like, there's no two ways about it. He's absolutely class. But there's a few of them lads, like Johnny looks, you know, absolutely, as he always does. Like, you know what I mean? When he's back on form and he's got a point to prove, now he's going, fucking, you won't pick me for the lines, will you? That? But I'll show you. You know, he's probably looking over his shoulder a small bit. Like, obviously Joey's coming up, you know, the Burns are there as well. And I tell you what, though, all of them better fucking watch out for Ben Healy. Fuck me. That was a point to prove, wasn't it? He wanted to kick that first kick that O'Mahony was telling him, no. Mahoney actually went, you know what? At one stage, he wanted to kick it from like 60 meters out or more even. He was like, I'll get it. And he showed it. He went from like 50 odd, 55 meters out. No hovering over the ball, no eyeball, no nothing. Couple of steps back, crack. And she has another 10, 15 meters on her when she goes over the bar. It was a kind of a point to like, I like his attitude. He's like, I'll fucking take it. Give me the ball. Because in fairness, like Joey was a little off the mark, a little off the boil. Healy was like, I'm not. I was playing class last season. I'll play class against this season. Give me the ball. So, I mean, I don't really know his feelings, I suppose, defensively, and I suppose getting the back line going. Joey has a couple of years on him that way, and he'll get a back line going a bit better. But y'all better, mark my words, you all better watch yourselves as out halves countrywide, because Ben Healy, look at the size of him as well on top of that. He's as big as, like, he's 6'3", 6'4", like he's a unit of a man. And that fucking kick on him. Oh, Nelly. I'd be watching it. I was very, very impressed with Leinster. Yeah, they fucking look class, lads. They'll be there at the business end. I'd say, I mean, as it stands, you'd say it's theirs. If they can go injury free and all the rest of it. Munster can start chugging along. They get the rusty players like the likes of Snyman and Joey up and trucking. Be interesting to see when the centre pairing comes back, Farrell and Dealende, what the backline will look like, because that's a sexy, that's a star-studded, classy backline. Like, have a look there. Even against Leinster's backline. You know what I mean? Have a look at that. That's a classy backline in anybody's business. So hopeful. Ulster, of course, went up against Glasgow. That was a humdinger of a fucking match. A proper ding-dong, like 35-29. That was a good match. That was a good match to watch. And there's a proper mullet showed up. I knew I'd written it down somewhere. There's a proper mullet showed up. Hooker for Glasgow. Proper. He, what's it, Glasgow? Brad. Excuse me 1 second. Brad Roberts. Hold your horses. I could be doing the man an injustice here. Hold on. I think I'm actually wrong on him. He's not a folk. He plays for Ulster. Have a look at this lad. Have a look at him. I'll throw up a picture right now. Brad Roberts. Beautiful. Now that's not messing around. That's pride in the mullet. And I like to see that. I like to see it. Great to see Marty Moore. Another fellow reborn. Another fellow who's off in the salt baths or something, like. Another rejuvenation. Hope he can stay in the game for that. Like, he came back from Wasps, which is surprisingly leaving or Leinster that time. I suppose he just went for fucking money. You know what I mean? He was probably looking at the Ireland setup going, I ain't getting in there. But I tell you what, he's come back to Ulster. He was a bit slow out of the blocks the last 2 seasons, but he looked good the other night. It was a proper slobber knocker of a match. Like, it looked a couple of rounds in, that kind of the most evenly matched game possibly over the weekend. I watched the highlights of all of them. I got to see the Leinster and Munster match. It's all right, but probably the most evenly matched that I could see anyway. There was Will Addison. Stay injury free, will you? Because he is unbelievable. The shift, the pace, like, and he looks fucking relaxed when he's running. Normally fellas are like a shitting dog. Their tongue is flapping out the side of their mouth and hitting off their forehead, and their eyes are going every which way. Will Addison just has this like that Baywatch theme just playing behind him. Some people stand in the darkness, like Mitch Buchanan. That he just looks so calm when he glides along the field. Even like, Zebo is he glides along when he runs. He's got that glidey run, but still he's all, don't catch me. You can't catch me. You can't catch me. Please step DFK. Addison I like the way he looks so calm as he runs. It was cool. They were good. So that was, go back, have a look at the highlights of that one. If you didn't, it was 35-29. Good one. So the Irish provinces were all going great up until Connacht. Why? Now, to their credit, It was another ding-donger. A ding-donger. They were up against Cardiff, and Cardiff were good, man. They have your man, Halaholo. I know. It's such a fun name to say. Halaholo. Like, he's a monster. A fucking monster when he gets the pedal down. Like, so they didn't get, like, their pants pulled down and they're smacked. Like, but at the same time, 33-21, they got to be. We'll see how they go next week. You know what I mean? They're up against the Bulls next week. That'll actually be a good measurement for everybody to see, okay. Because the Bulls get their trousers pulled down properly by Connacht at the weekend, then, you ain't going to win shit if you're relying on all your international players to carry you through. You know what I mean? You've got to have quality in the depth. Like, you just have to if you want to win a thing. And that means the Bulls ain't winning shit. Like, now I know that boys are winning the championship and all the rest of it. They've had the Lions tour, but they ain't winning shit if they can't pull off something this coming weekend against Connacht. Same to be said for Connacht. They've no excuse. They had full noise the other day. They had Finley Beelum. The fuck is going on there, man? I like it, but Finley Beelum, this is just no. I'm not going to put up a picture because they're fucking scandalous. They're kind of like cornrows. I know he kind of looked a bit like Mr. Tumless from the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe with his curly hobbit hair. But at the same time, you know what? I'm just raging that you don't take the advantage when you got a big, massive head of hair. You don't just take in the sides, trim the top, and let it flow down the back. I'm just raging. You didn't feel the need to go for, you didn't feel the need to go for it. I'm just raging that you didn't. Number 8, I just couldn't stop laughing. Ratty. Number 8 for Cardiff. Ratty. The ratty bastard, yeah. But Connor, two boys that had left, I suppose they've been through the ringer a small bit, like Sammy Arnold and Conor Oliver. But I tell you what, it's an awful pity sometimes, like, you can't hang on to lads and have more games. And them boys, you'd be sorry to see them lads gone. Like, they're good. Like, Sammy Arnold was starting a couple of years ago too, and he just, whatever way, I suppose they landed Daylende and Farrell, and there was no other place for him. Like, and Conor Oliver was never the biggest number 7, but shit, he looked, they're doggedly committed, especially like Oliver. And I'm a fart myself, so I like to see an underdog, a small fella like just busting through, and he punches above his weight, especially on that 4G pitch. But another thing, I would imagine it'd be a different story if they got Cardiff over into the old sports grounds on a nice piss wet night, like, and just take him into deep waters, literally drag him down the pitch into a fucking deep puddle. It might have been a different outcome. I mean, it ended up 33-21, which it was reflective of the game. In all fairness, it wasn't just like a late flourish from either one that happened to pull it off. It was a bit of a ding dong throughout. So it was well worth it. All right. I won't pass judgment. You can't really pass judgment on anybody at all. But just if I was to take it in the little micro world that it is right now, the South African sides fell down a bit, as did Connacht. But, everybody has to look at this in the way that they want to win it. You can't just go, we like to get through maybe 60% of our games and we win. That's neither here. That's not a goal you set at the beginning of a season. So I'm hoping everybody starts to stretch their legs a small bit and we start to see definitely more even games like the Ulster Glasgow game and the Cardiff Connacht game. Munster, of course, have the Stormers this weekend, and Stormers, I think, went down. Did they go down to Zebra? I think Zebra. Of course, Zebra won the fucking, through whatever crooked mafia means, they won the Rainbow Cup last year. I'm not bitter at all. I'm delighted for them, but it was like they ended up playing like Benetton or something 3 times or something because of COVID. It's like, what, man? Benetton could beat Benetton 3 times. Are you joking me? Like, but whatever. So, but they're on a streak. They're on a streak, and they brought it into the new season. So at least, see, all these things, like, I know we want the Irish teams to win, but at the same time, if you're just steamrolling people, like, yourself, you won't mind missing a match on the telly or going to a match. You go, that'd be grand. And that's not good for rugby in any way. Like, so you want to feel like your team are playing Toulouse tomorrow when they're playing the likes of the Bulls. You want that same feeling. Not that they're going to fucking run over Benetton, with their children, with their academy, the Green Corps Academy or whatever. You don't want that shit. Unfortunately, the only way to make a good season of a thing is to actually everybody be good and the possibility be there of your team losing. That's the reality. And when you're going up against lads who are just getting bent over, there's no, the clear sign is that if you don't mind missing a match, then the tournament has lost its edge. You wouldn't miss, if you're a fan, you're not going to miss your team in Europe because everybody's at the top of their game. So yeah, look, we have Leinster play the Dragons next week. Good night, thanks. Do you know what I mean? Expect to see the children out for that one. Bring out the kids. They're going to play in the fucking Dragons. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong on the Dragons. Maybe they'll front up. But it's Leinster, so expect the fucking children to be out. A couple of lads just after making their communion. We'll be playing the Dragons at the weekend. It's what you got to do. Connacht play the Bulls, as I said, and that's a game to watch. That'll be a game to watch because both have a serious point to prove. You can't just go win the Curry Cup and come down and get your trousers pulled down in the Aviva, and then the same. I don't know. I'm assuming of course they are playing out in sports ground. So, it's shit or bust really for whatever about Connacht. They can always go, all right, look, grand. We got caught, but the Bulls straight out the gate. Nice wet night now in Galway. That's what we want to see there. Nice wet night for the Bulls in Galway, and see how they handle that. I mean, they would have played a bit in New Zealand when it was pissing out of the heavens, or whatever. But yeah, fucking sideways Galway rain, be a different story. And then Ulster plays Zebra. Who fucking knows, lads? Who knows at the minute? Just blowing wide open with what Zebra are up to. I don't know. Test them. That's all. I'm not suggesting they're all taking steroids, but I'd say test them. Test a couple of them because they're going well. They're going fucking well. And not to dampen the mood, but it has to be spoken about. The women completely fucking capitulated. I know I talked them up last week that you have to watch more women's rugby, and it has been, it's been put on the telly. The Interpros are putting the telly and stuff like that. But what the fuck? A major inquest has to be done to the standard of the professional men's. It has to be done because they won a Grand Slam in this decade. The women won a Grand Slam in this decade. They beat. I remember standing outside the Three Sisters in Edinburgh, and I had my Edinburgh show that day. Almost missed the start of it because I was watching the women beat New Zealand. The men had never done it before. The women were the first to beat the ladies All Blacks, the women's All Blacks. They were the first to beat them. And you're going, well, this is, Jesus Christ, we'll have professional women within the decade. And this is where we are now. They can't even make the World Cup. They've gotten knocked out before even qualifying for the World Cup by losing to Scotland. They should have wiped the floor with that fucking tournament at the week, gone by. They should have wiped the floor with them. I think they were over in Italy with it. They beat Italy, all right. Lost to fucking Spain and then lost to Scotland again. I'm not pointing any fingers at all because I have no idea who's to blame. Is the coach to blame or the players to blame? But watching the match, you're like, what the fuck? You're dropping the ball. Come on, you weren't doing this 2 years ago, 3 years ago. You weren't doing this shit. You weren't doing this at Interpro level. Line outs, making a bollocks of the line out. Basic skills like catch pass and stuff like that. I know they're all working women and everything else. And in a way, I'm not fucking blaming. Somebody has metaphorically dropped the ball on what they were up to. You know what I mean? I don't know, is Griggs not up to the speed of things? He's not up to the game or what? But there needs to be a major inquest into what before this falls apart altogether. Because you want girls rowing in behind this, seeing girls and going, I want some of this. I want a bit of this. I want her jersey. Right now, doing stuff like that, getting absolutely spanked in a tournament where they were expected to wipe the floor with everybody and waltz into the World Cup. Maybe that's what it was, which, they play to a professional standard. They hold themselves accountable to a professional standard. So I'd be very surprised if that was the mindset going into it. If it was, I can only blame the coach for that because there's no fuck. You just physically cannot. You have to be able to get your point across to that extent that you fucking not going to lose to these people. It's not like they were playing England, France, and South Africa or England, France, and New Zealand. It wasn't. They were playing fucking Spain. Yeah, the Spanish ones are quick, but fuck that. You know, yes, they 2 disallowed tries, but fuck that. You got to be baiting them out the gate. You got to be baiting fucking Italy out the gate. They just about bet Italy, and you got to be fucking at least maybe a bit of an arm wrestle for the first 40, first 50 against Scotland, but you got to be putting these away. Like when you've got absolute, like Bevan Harris or Parsons, when you have her on the team, like get the fucking ball to her. And I don't mean like, you don't even like pull them around the field until you open a gap up and just set her off. Have her come up the fucking middle. You know what I mean? Because she will outstep anybody. Like once you give her an inch of space. So I'll give a shit if that's your one game plan. Drag the fucking defense over and back across the field until you can a couple of serious plays that will do that. Drag them, open up a crack up the side of a ruck or whatever, open up a crack up between the two centers. You know what I mean? You've got to be a bit dirty about it. Clear a fucking way like a linebacker. Clear a fucking way and let her through. Do you know? Something will have to be done. Well, the men are going good at the sevens. Jordan Conroy hit 50th. I don't know. I think it's an overall. I think it's like it's not a world record because I'm sure there's a couple of Fijians that have hit it already, but it's definitely an Irish record. He got his 50th try at the weekend. I think they're still in Canada. Still at Edmonton at the weekend. It's going lovely for him. But I tell you what, there's something else to watch. There's a guy there, Shane Jennings. Nothing, I would imagine. He's big foxy head. Nothing, I would imagine, to the back row, the Leinster back row back in the day. But whew, now they're fun to watch. But they look the shit. They look the shit. They look like they should be in the Olympics. You know, that kind of way. They look the shit. So I just keep an eye on them. Keep an eye on them. I have fingers crossed and high hopes that the women will turn it around. The standard in Ireland is pretty fucking strong. You know what I mean? I think it was match fitness too was a major thing. They should have pushed the Interpros back a week or two so all the internationals played them, because by all accounts they hadn't played an actual match before this for yonks. So like you got to get them hardened up too, but also at the same time they seem to be a bit directionless. I'm not going to keep banging the drum. It was a bit fucking annoying to see it. And finally, I had a quick look. I really didn't get into the Premiership much. This again, it's only second round of the Premiership. Your man Radwan, he was class again for Newcastle. Banged another he's some rocket. I'd say he might be the fastest in England at the minute. Some rocket. But Leicester looked the real deal. I know George Ford was dropped out of the England squad, but he looked good too at the weekend. They are the real deal. Like they're fucking hell. I don't like their new jerseys, admittedly, but they beat 33-26. Was this at Bath they beat? I think it was Bath, was it? I really should have written that down. I was just actually, because I do kind of love Leicester, you know, a small bit, the old school kind of way about them. They got a good grunt. Genji scored a try as well. It was nice. Fuck me, we lost AJ McGinty. Like, he was a major loss, that chap. I think he went to Blackrock or something. Did he? He plays for America now, but Jesus Christ, he looked good for Sale at the weekend. He went off at a nasty old shoulder industry. But they Sale were playing London Irish at the weekend. It finished out. That's a humdinger of a game. Paddy Jackson, unreal, kicking for 50 odd meters. Sean O'Brien coming on, pulling off all sorts of fucking moves, looking class. I loving it. Again, another fella I'd say he was in the salt baths or something. These lads, maybe, I don't know, maybe they're getting fucking stem cells or something, because he looked, to the manner born, he looked like from 5 years ago, like he could put his hand up for an Ireland pick. And in fairness, he has that kind of belief. There you go. He's probably texting Andy Farrell going, see that? I love it. Everybody loves Sean O'Brien, but he looks savage again. Like his skills looked fucking unbelievable. So I'm delighted. That was an absolute humdinger. 31-31. It was fair. And they came back from like 17 or 18 points down. Like, so it was shit hot. Quality mullet on the burgeoning mullet. He's a fullback or winger for London Irish. Rowe is his name. Burgeoning mullet. Just a bit of mullet watch there. Just had to keep an eye out for it. And of course, we had New Zealand, South Africa. Bit of a shit match, because of course New Zealand played or South Africa played how they do. But that's, hey, why wouldn't you? It's up to you to play around that. Just park the bus rugby and Yeah, I don't think it was a penalty at the end. I don't think I don't think it was. I think I don't think it was but maybe it was, but I think South Africa had one in further. And of course, New Zealand snatched it in the death. Your man Cody Taylor or something else. Like there was, it was weirding me out too. Like it's a big screen. Fair play to out halves. Like see Barrett over the ball. It's like this huge big screen almost right behind where he's going to kick it, where the ball is going. And you're like, how? And he's like, it's bad enough to have block out crowd noise, block out fucking, fatigue, block out fucking maybe mental fucking fragility. And then you look up and there you are looking back at you, 80 foot fucking high in the most bizarre Wizard of Oz fucking magic mushrooms moment going, what the fuck am I looking at? Like turn it off for the man at that point. Like you don't have that camera wired up. You know what I mean? Have the ball camera wired up to that fucking situation. Don't have that one wired up. Just, I don't know. Well, fair play. It's another test. Fair play. But it was, you know what it was too? It was fucking shite. No wonder maybe the South Africans are coming under, maybe they cracked it the weekend or whatever, but the audience was shit. It was like, where is the crack here? Have they forgotten to mic them up? Now, in fairness, the Aviva and Thoman didn't sound hectic either. They could do it. I don't think they they got the mics out in time because they wouldn't have needed them over the last year or whatever. Like, but Jesus Christ, nobody brought a flag. It just didn't look like they were all out to a fucking match. It's like, oh, you're watching cricket or something. No wonder the Saffers and the Kiwis come up here like going, Jesus, right, this is a rugby match. The audience were shit. Anybody who's at that match, South Africa and New Zealand at the weekend, get in contact. Let me know why you were so shit. Everybody's sitting down just watching. I know you're class at rugby. Jeez, get into it a small bit, will you? Bit of a sickener, but it was the 100 test between the two sides, and New Zealand nipped it, which I mean is, for me, like the fact that South Africa were able to put it up to New Zealand. Maybe New Zealand didn't want to hit third gear. Who knows? But at the same time, it kind of shows well for our Australia, because Australia beating South Africa twice shows that, hey, they're not that far off. I know they got clipped earlier by New Zealand twice, but at least it's not a completely one-sided affair. It bodes well for Australia. But then as you'd often hear, if you can't get yourself up for New Zealand, because in fairness, South Africa have to be feeling the burn at this stage. They have to be feeling the tiredness at this stage. Lions test and straight into this then in a bubble for fuck knows how long, because a lot of them fellas didn't get to go home to the missus or the whoever, the family, or even the dog or whatever. So it's been a long old few months for them boys. So I guess they'll have another crack, I think, this weekend. Argentina just looked soft. Australia were fucking plowing through them, soft tackles. Just shit to look at, like, because, I mean, yeah, Quade Cooper put a chip through there. Oh, it was filthy. But at the same time, what the fuck, like, I know Argentina's they all heads to be down and all the rest, but like, you have strong, good players. Like, a tackle, just letting somebody walk through you. So it's kind of unacceptable at that standard. Like, to get outplayed, you know what I mean? Shit hot move out the back, like somebody sidestepping you, but somebody just fucking runs through your arms. You had your arms on him. I see that happening a load of times in the Argentina. I'm like, lads, there's no excuse for that. There's just no excuse for soft falling off tackles, other than you're mentally not. We're going to get our holes handed to us here. Let's just go through the moment. Let's have pints afterwards, lads, if we can keep it under 100 or under 50 or whatever. James O'Connor, another bad boy who's made it back with a fucking communion haircut from 1992. What the fuck is that thing on top of his head? That's unacceptable. Like, a step. Like, I think I had a step in my confirmation, I think, back when, like, Edward Furlong had one with Terminator 2 and stuff, because it was 1990 fucking something or other. Brutal haircut. Like, he has a cool head. Like, he's good looking son of a bitch. Shave the head, do something cool with it, like, maybe. Or maybe put a mohawk in it. But, like, put a fucking step? No. Unacceptable. Class player. He was living the life of Riley over in France, and apparently, all is forgiven. So he's back. And that was it. Yeah, Australia are on a streak. They beat Argentina, and they'll beat them again this weekend. Simple fact of it. That has been my roundup so far. I do, of course, have Clatter of the Week coming up after our special guest, but sure, look at, without any further ado, this man, Christ, did I laugh through the whole of this. There's quite a lot of one dimension of the game of rugby through this, but I think you're going to find it very entertaining. Enjoy the brilliant Peter Bracken. Well, I tell you, this is a first for any podcast ever had. We have a medical professional on the podcast here today. A doctor, don't you know? Fucking Scrum doctor, lads. Where are you going to get one of them? Huh? A Scrum doctor, Peter Bracken. You're very welcome to Crack Rugby. How are you keeping?
Oh, you're delighted to be here, Tom. Delighted. I'm one of these lads that go around saying they're a doctor. You know this? Like a lad that might have did a bit of arts in fucking Trinity or something says he's a doctor in philosophy or something. Like, you're not a fucking doctor. Like, a doctor, you're opening people up, you're saving fucking lives. That's a doctor. I throw a few scrums together, and lads seem to generally know what they're doing after it. They know fuck all generally beforehand, and then afterwards they know a lot more. So I enjoy it. It's good fun.
A great thing about the scrummage, and I remember I was talking with John Fogarty about this, and it's almost like jiu-jitsu. Like, lads nowadays, from listening to horseshit buzzwords on telly and stuff, like the old dark arts, and he's turning his shoulders in. It's the same as jiu-jitsu. They're going, oh, he's got him in a triangle. Nobody fucking knows. A handful of big, strong lads who did this shit at the upper level have an idea what's going on. Everybody else, from number 4 backwards, has not if, and including the fat fucker sitting on a stool watching in the pub, he sure as shit doesn't know what's going on up there.
Absolutely not, but they'll give an opinion anyway. And but I find the men that they probably know the least are the refs then in the middle. But to be fair to them, the higher up you go, the more interest they have in it.
Right.
But the lower down you go, like it's just annoyance to them. And there's no front rowers reffing because we're too heavy.
I was just gonna say, we want to slim up a bit there to go run around the field.
And we're probably happy people in our lives, so we don't need to be reffing.
You're not miserable shits, the laddie. Yeah.
There's not a wantedness that we're trying to fulfill,
Are you listening, Johnny Lacey? Are you listening?
Lad, that's biting that because he can't get it in his real life. He needs to be in control of big lads in the middle of a rugby match, So, we're usually fairly content lads by the time we're age enough to referee, so we don't bother doing it.
I do always find that funny, and any of my friends who are not into rugby, they can't wrap their head around, somebody pick any referee. They're always the nerdiest looking bloke ever. Bar the likes of Johnny Lacey, who was just admiring himself running around the field, but they're normally the nerdiest looking.
John could throw a few shapes now.
Actually, he's from Tip Town, sure, of course he could. He was brought up on that shit. Sure.
Outside Supermax down on a Saturday night, I'd say a few schmacks in his time.
But they're always and you know what I mean? You're looking at somebody pick one of the most horrendous looking people like Graham Roundtree, beautiful, lovely man, it would seem but to look directly at, it's like looking into, the devil's anus. He's got a face like a blind carpenter's thumb, God bless him. But can you imagine being some Poindexter given out to him, after, scrummaging wrong? You think he's just going to bite your face off,
And he'd deserve, and he'd be well entitled to.
Yeah.
If Graham Roundtree in his heyday, some lad turned around to him and started telling him how to scrummage, and Graham bit his face off. All of a sudden, Graham gets in trouble. Yeah. That's wrong. The cheek of it, So, look, it's the dark arts are mighty. It's
has it do you struggle to keep away from fellas who want to talk the living whole off you when it comes somebody like Mike Ross, I'd say, would talk for 17 years straight about scrummaging. He was the only thing is, you could give him the credit, he was very good at it.
Oh yeah.
But I'd say he'd knock the crack out of him, would he? The likes of them lads who just talk. Come here now, I want to bend your ear about rugby now for the next 20 minutes.
Would you? I don't ever remember talking. Well, since we finished playing, I don't remember ever talking scrums to Mike because I'd say we just knows both of us.
Yeah.
We just don't get into it because it'd just be a whole of iniquity, like it'd be never ending. So and I suppose we do realize that there's more to life, in little ways. So
you just cancel each other out, like when it comes to that part. Yeah.
Yeah.
But there must be some evolution, like since we'd say day dot when you started, when there was the big smash. It was just like let's go, and then the evolution, the body shapes and everything. I was watching the Munster match the weekend. There was your man Thomas de Toit, like he's built like a Volkswagen, like, but yet. Like Kilcoyne was twisting him, like was still fucking him up, like, and he's given away maybe 4 stone by the looks of things, like. So technique still over size and power.
Oh yeah, technique is king all day long, and still is, and probably even more so now. Like the best rule that World Rugby ever introduced was to shorten the gap in the scrum, because people were going to start dying on the field of play, getting horrific, catastrophic injuries because lads were getting so big, the gap was so wide, there was just a huge amount of pressure. Now, talking to that, like I finished up just as the scrum was at its furthest away.
Right. You were back at either fucking dead ball line, just giving a run at each other, like,
and of course you'd be facing the likes of Martin Skelzo and Ledesma and that, and they're walking further back to get a bigger hit on you, and you're trying to creep up, these kind of lads. But there's so many scrums going down. It was so hard to control that power once it hit, and it was all about the hit. You won the hit, you won the scrum pretty much.
Yeah.
But now talking to lads that are still playing, that've played in both. A lot of the crack went originally, like, a lot of the real fun, went, but it kind of evolved then, so for the first season, all the props were hating. They were hating it. This is like, this is like childish stuff compared to what we used to be doing. But it evolved in that it became a wrestle. It became still a scrummage, like, and a lot of technique and a lot of power. It just didn't have the danger behind it, so
I get you. Yeah.
So lads, look, I don't know because I didn't play in the new rules, but I did. I played an old thirds game for Tullamore. Doesn't really count, but
really that wasn't a pinnacle of your
No, that's since I retired officially, but I was up against the young lad and I kind of had a word with him beforehand and kind of gave it to you just take it handy and I'll take it handy, and we're all taking it handy, So I didn't get the...
Yeah, tell the truth, there was a temptation to absolutely screw him into the ground like a tent peg, wasn't there?
There was. But who knows? He could have turned on me, because he was a big young fella. So, I wasn't chancing anything. But, but the lads that played in both, they say that there's still the power, there's still the scrum, and there's less collapse, and the ball's in and out a bit quicker. The guys have been given a bit more time to set, and of course and us purists are loving it. Lads are given enough time to set and do it properly, but now everyone's whinging, it's taking too long to set and all this. And there's 1,200 kilos by two smashing into each other, and give the lads a chance to actually get set properly. So, there's no real kind of excuse now. You can get into a good scrummage position now, and you can get all the lads around you to be able to hold. And even if a scrum is stronger than you, you can hold more pressure than you can actually push.
Okay.
So technically, in theory, you should be able to hold any scrum you come against. But, that's not all. Some fucking flanker always switches off, or he's looking at some young one on the sideline or something, and then the scrum goes to shit. But generally, if all 8 guys are concentrating, you should be able to hold the ball, strike, and go out. But of course, the strike has come back into it a bit as well, which is a good thing. Some hookers are now beginning to realize that a strike is important. So get the ball back to number 8 and get the ball moving, and that seems to it pleases me enough that it's still a scrum, but at the
Yes.
same time, it pleases the nouveau rugby crowd
Who want to see it
that
out
it's
and
an
gone.
exciting game as well.
Yeah, because that was the thing. We were judging with Andy the last day. We were going judging the size of fellas. Like, a fella's gone too massive, like, you know what I mean, monsters. Like, would rugby break up a small bit if you get fellas a bit narrower, a bit skinnier, or whatever? But he was suggesting that if the putting in of the ball at the scrum time was policed correctly and not fucked into the second row, if there's put up the middle, you'd need probably a shorter hooker, smaller version of a hooker. Like, now that was Andy, an ex-out half turned physio. Obviously not a medical profession like yourself, of scrums. Would that actually would that happen? Like, if they started policing, what would be the outcome of the change? I wonder if they said, look, no more of this now. We're not fucking into the, back into the second row. Like, you got to put it up the middle for a proper hook.
Yeah, probably the most intelligent quote I've ever heard of an out half in my life, actually. Yeah,
he's a smart. In fairness, he's gone very smart these last, hanging out with me mostly, like,
This is après rugby, like after rugby, like the brain cells start to recover.
Yeah. The CTE just subsides a small bit.
Yeah. And I know Andy's dead. I think he's not far off the mark there. Like, what I do, I coach my hookers to hook. And it's, you know what, you can still have a big lad that's able to hook. You just need to move his hips. And, right. Like, the coach needs to know what you mean by that and how to do that. But sure, the professionals don't even do it. It's all power scrummaging still. Like, you won't see any. Like, I could try and say to lads, oh yeah, watch X player do it in professional rugby, but they don't. Like there's hookers are scrummaging like props, but all of a sudden, if you turn the hips, you can actually narrow the scrum, which helps the props actually scrummage straighter, gets the hooker lower and gets him to strike, and then the ball's out. And yeah, you could go either way. Like, the hooker either get smaller or he might stay just as big. It's just these techniques gets a bit different,
I think if they had the insight, because again, most people are watching it going, well, this is a part of the game where I have no idea what's going on. Do you know what I mean? Like, defensive setups out the back and stuff like that, people can get their head around that. But I think rugby are doing themselves an injustice. Not nerded up to the point, but like, if they could literally have you schooling commentators on what the fuck is happening. Because you'll hear O'Donnell coming out with stuff there and you're going, go out that done. Like, you don't know what you're looking at. Like, God bless you. But like, if they could have that, do you know what? I think we could make the scrum right sexy. People want it for half an hour, let alone 10 seconds.
Yeah.
If we got, do you know, they're always trying to think of new camera angles, right? And this has just popped into my head because I suggested to Fogarty how he would get to watch the scrum better would be if we got him a trolley, like a mechanic has that he goes underneath the car on. He could slide in underneath and look up at the six guys, tickle their noses or whatever. But if we did it in the live form, we could actually have a fella with a stick run on, or maybe a drone, a fucking drone flying underneath the two front rows.
Or selfie job,
Yeah, and we could watch the boys trying to grind the heads off each other and trying to hook the ball and stuff. We could fucking leave it there for 10 minutes inside there, just trying to tear the heads off each other. I'm just suggesting, just trying to make rugby sexy.
I think it's worth. I'm 100% behind that idea. 100% behind it. Yeah, definitely. Yes, I don't know. Like, there was so much in that. I've just lost track.
I know. Realistically, let's leave the fantasy stuff aside. If they could have at least more explanation and a real definitive, because it was Emmett Byrne. Emmett Byrne was a fantastic. He was beyond the odd news talk bit, but I don't think he must have been up for too long. But he used to explain the scrum to the lads, and sure, he may have been. God bless him, the lads in news talk, sure, because they're on to the next sport. The next, as soon as he's gone. Yeah, like, if it could be given to commentators how they could convey, look, his right arse, his arse cheek has come up, his hip is twisted. Fucking look, and all they're seeing is a knee going down. They're going, I guess that's a reset. Yeah. We don't know, and it's a fright to have a part of a fucking sport that you love. Like, it's a good. It might end up being 10-15% of the game is scrummaging, and almost nobody knows what's going on or why they're doing it.
Oh, look, Emmett was brilliant. And it was only little glimpses of it, but it showed what could happen. You know, they should go all NFL on this, like, you know.
Yeah. That's what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah, and people will want to learn if they're given the opportunity. Now it's just brushing it aside. It's the fact that lads don't know. But yeah, I've suggested that before. Look, you know, like whoever, you know, TRE or whatever you call that Irish channel.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Imagine trying to explain it in Irish.
Yeah.
If people didn't know what the fuck they were watching beforehand, and this fella unsure.
Yeah. No, but I find TG Carr brilliant. It's the other crowd that I wouldn't be as, you know. Anyway, look, I leave that for the moment. But I suggested that, look, you're commentating there or whatever. I know you haven't a clue. You know you haven't a clue. You know the lads in the team don't have a clue. Most of them backs and they're just there to look good and the usual kind of ramble. I'll be in your ear and I'll be telling you exactly what's happened.
Yeah.
So when his foot goes down, I'll know whether that's a slip or he did it on purpose or what happened there, whether the ref was right or wrong or not. But sure, it fell on deaf ears. But that's a thing. Like if you can have someone like Emmett Byrne as the scrum is setting, Emmett will be able to know which, like, as would I, like by the setup, you pretty much know how the scrum is going to go. And he'll be able to talk people through it. And people will get an interest in it. And if it goes down and the referee resets it, Emmett or whoever will be saying why he's resetting it and why it wasn't a penalty. And even saying, look, that could have been a penalty, but look, let's not be too harsh. It's the first scrum of the game, whatever, you know. And, you know, I suppose it's information. It's information. Yeah. Like if you're ignorant of it, you can just dismiss it, you know.
Well, I think that's what's going on because it's not like people are asking for it because they're going, well, this is just a bit where you can just turn around and go out and smoke a fag or whatever you're doing at the pub, you know what I mean? Or just have a quick chat or tip to the toilet because it's like, well, this is a thing that it's just a dead moment. So remember Frankie Sheehan used to be quite good at describing things. You know, they'd cut to Frankie when he was, you know, he'd be doing kind of color commentary down on the pitch side. They'd cut to him and go, that was a fucking penalty, you know, and he should have given it the other way. But heaven forbid Munster were playing because Frankie would be absolutely biased, like, you know. But I genuinely think, and no messing, that you in their ear or the likes of Emmett Byrne in their ear or whatever, going, listen, what? Look, and give them the technical, you know, thing that they need to get, because it's doing rugby an injustice because the Americans mop up every fucking millisecond of their sports. They mop it up and put it out there as content, like.
Exactly. And what about even after? Like I remember one Six Nations about 6 years ago. The referee started giving penalties, and after the first round of matches, I said, I think only about 50% of them were the right call, you know, for the scrum. So, and I went back, looked through them, and said, yeah, 50-50, yeah. And I said, and so I said I do the rest of the 4 rounds of whatever, and I had a look what decisions were and what I would have made, and it was bang on 50-50 whether the ref got the right call or not. So I just happened to be at a referee kind of convention jobby thing, you know, a couple of weeks later, and I just mentioned in a speech that, you know, if you put a monkey out in the field, just toss a coin at scrum time, he'd get the call just as right. For a bunch.
What a way to
crowd to maybe mention that one too, because they were all serious. You know, they thought they were serious and, you know, really good referees and that, but geez, they weren't happy. I thought I was saying it for the laugh, but it was a fact. They weren't happy.
Basically, you said a fucking monkey could do your jobs, you useless cunts, the laddie.
Yeah.
A fucking monkey.
But only in the scrum. Like the rest of the game, I don't know and I don't really care. They probably were fine for the rest of the game. So it's only one part, you know, a bit of feedback and, you know, just help them progress. They weren't having it.
I love that.
I didn't get called back to that convention yet.
I don't know what their problem is. They probably just can't take positive criticism like that. But tell me this, something that's came up in a bit of news over the weekend, because I think Bernard Jackman actually leaked it over early last week, and it was that Cian Healy Q-Tour is attempting to go over to the other side of the scrum, and which he did at the weekend, and he
come on it. the weekend on the
Yeah.
tight head side.
Yeah.
I didn't see it. Oh, nice.
And he worked. It fucking worked. And you're like, cute hooer. Maybe get another
man.
couple of miles on the clock. So if that's the case, tricky thing to do, or is it absolutely doable?
Well, for someone of his talent and if his experience, it's absolutely doable. But if his name wasn't Keil Heaney and he had 120 caps or something for Ireland, I'd be kind of wondering about it.
Yeah.
But because it's him and he's an absolute unit and a beast of a man, he'd be fine. It is absolutely 100% harder. Every prop will tell you this. It's harder to go from tight head. Sorry, it's harder to go from loose head to tight head.
And my question there is that everybody be screaming at it right now. Go, why? Because if you look at the scrum from as an outsider in looking at it from a helicopter point of view, you go, everything looks nice and even here. What's the difference? So tight head, loose head, why do their roles vary?
Well, the long and the short of it, at tight head, you're scrummaging against two people. At loose head, you're scrummaging against one. So technically, it's twice as difficult. Now, that's oversimplifying of the whole thing. Because if you're a tight head, your head is stuck in between the opposition loose head and hooker, and you have to deal with both of them. And both of them are trying to F you up. Whereas loose head, you're just against the tight head. So as a loose head, you're trying to do as much damage to the tight head as possible. At tight head, you're basically trying to hold the whole scrum. So if a tight head loses, if the tight head is struggling, your whole scrum is struggling. You'll get absolutely smashed if your tight head is weak. If your loose head is having a bad day, you might still survive. So that's why the tight heads get paid the big bucks. And that's why when I played, the tight head and the number 10 were the highest paid players on the team, in generally most teams. And I'd say that's probably the same situation. So I'd actually love to be in his negotiations next time he's going.
Oh yeah. How cool is that? He's got two cards to play.
Himself and Furlong and fucking Porter come in the same time.
Yeah.
All looking for fucking contracts.
Cute move, isn't it? It's a cute move.
Fucking right job. Go on mass, Philip is retired or he's hanging up the boots or whatever. But the poor misfortune that comes in ahead of them, one of my great things, if anyone knows Ty Furlong, if he's listening to this or whatever, I would just love to sit in on Ty's next contract negotiations.
Oh, baby.
Some crack.
He just walk in with a fur coat on going, sup, bitches, like Conor McGregor.
Conor McGregor job me on it, yeah. And he just happened to be photographed in fucking La Rochelle and Biarritz and Mount Ferrand the week before. He had no chat with Rog, at the match or whatever, just the week before contract negotiations.
Yeah.
And then Keith Healy fucking pops in after him. And then Andrew Porter's going, well, I'm the next in line. So, give me some love. So that's and Leo, like I played with Leo all through the year, and Leo's just washing his hands of it, because it's an Irish contract, and he's delighted. He's delighted.
Of course. Daddy Warbucks up the top, just handing out the checks, he's going, oh, hey, all I can do is just facilitate these guys,
But so Keane has to go across. So and why is he doing it? Does anyone know why he's doing it? I can just imagine in my head without knowing anything. But
I can only imagine he's just going, well, I want to offer you two things. I'm good for both. Because he's probably looking at the beast coming through too, and going, I can do both. Why wouldn't you? What I mean? He makes knives now on the side. So I don't know.
Do you know what he's going to do now? So when I finished playing rugby, I went into the MMA and then I went into the jiu-jitsu and stuff, and I love it. As soon as he's finished, he's going to do something like that.
Guaranteed.
He's going to burst me fucking bubble, young fella again. The next thing, I'll be on the mat someday, doing my thing. And next thing, Keil Healy's at the other side, and I said, "Oh,
he'll just be just chalking up his hands, ready to strangle the neck off you, just going, I'm new to this, lads," but they just give him a purple belt for the crack, because he's just out to strangle people. Yeah.
But I know, another string to the bow, and look, technically, I suppose traditionally, now this isn't always the case, but your loose head might be that little bit more mobile or whatever, and maybe get a few more carries and whatever, whereas your tying head is the rock of the scrum, and if he doesn't carry as much or whatever, so he doesn't have to have the pace maybe that a loose head, and maybe Keane's looking at that, or maybe he just wants to pack on 10 kilos of beef.
That's what I'm hoping.
And just fucking veg out and just play tight head.
Fucking, I tell you what, fill him with steroids, send him off to Japan. He's going to make $1 million a year. Just fuck that. They're not testing for anything out there. Just go for it. Go for it. Just getting massive. And just go for it. But I mean, if you think about it too, it offers another game day for, say he's not back with Ireland or whatever. But when they're playing the Dragons and stuff, you go, hey, I'm happy to go in over. I'm happy. Just put it out there, lads. Get out there, get another win bonus. Why not? And just.
Oh yeah. Well, no, I'm not like he's well, like he has years left in him. Like he's an absolute athlete. Like guys like that, he he got one or two bad injuries, but he keeps himself in good order. So he could be one of these guys that might make it to 40 playing in the front row. Like there's very few that do it, but he could well do.
And I won't bend your ear too much more, Doctor. How did you fit? Did you get a chance to watch any of the games over the weekend from the URC or?
Yeah, I've almost zero interest in rugby these days.
I love it. I love that you said that. You're like, actually, no, Tom, I'm not into it at all. Actually,
I couldn't give a fuck, to be honest. I do look back at the scrums though. Like I look at every scrum that was scrummed over the weekend, all right, but I won't even know who scored the tries or nothing like that.
Oh no, I've no interest in asking you anything about the backs or actually anybody from 4 backwards. Or upwards. I've no interest in asking you because the answer will be I don't know, Tom. So.
And we're still I don't care.
But there's still some serious lads coming through though in the Irish setup. Like there's a couple of the likes of young Wycherley there in Munster, and there's another lad, Keenan Knox, wherever the fuck they got him out of South Africa or something. What are they feeding him like? You could play handball off his back, like he's.
I know. Like these lads are, they're getting bigger, but they're not just bigger. Like they're fitter, faster, stronger. I suppose it's a combination of it's down to the training and the type of training they're doing young, and it's scientifically done correctly. Like, it's been going on the NFL for a long, long time now. You could, there'll always be questions like, is it all natural? I believe it is. I don't know anyone I ever played with, but then it's 10 years ago. So it's a different, these, like the type of training and how it's done and the strength and conditioning coaches, everything's just down to an absolute T.
Yeah.
And you can produce athletes like that. It's amazing what the human body can achieve, physically.
I suppose they have, as you said, they have that perfect balance, because you could overtrain, not able to keep the muscle on, because you obviously need a bit of girth when you're playing in the front, the likes of the front row, but to still to get a fellow to go 70, 80 minutes at the higher end playing in the front row, it's freakish to be able to do. Your average human watching that wouldn't last 7 to 8 seconds, let alone do that for that length of time, 70 to 80 minutes. I don't think people appreciate it.
No, they don't. They just need to get in there for 10 seconds and not run into anyone and just survive for that 10 seconds and realize, oh fuck me, because Jesus, I remember even coming back, even coming back off injury, it's a big, and you're in your prime. It's still a shock to the system, because you're doing your non-contact, you're doing all this, and you have 20 stone men running around the place, but all of a sudden they're running at you with aggression, and and you're doing the same. So it's a different level. It's but I don't know where it's going to end. How, I suppose, rugby, does it have a limit as regards size? And I would always worry a little bit, when I was playing, it was you can make you can make a talented rugby player into a good athlete. But I'm just wondering now, is it verging more towards, okay, we'll try and make the athletes into good rugby players? Ideally you'd want a both, really talented rugby player who's a great athlete or whatever. But will there become a day that a bit like the NFL? It doesn't matter really how talented of a footballer you are. It's down to the stats and your 100-meter whatever, your 30-meter sprint and your bench press and your whatever, and that will decide a lot. So, I suppose rugby, you have to play for 80 minutes. You have to have a skill set too.
Yeah. Well, you'll be found out fairly quickly, and I think because I often wonder about that, is this just going to get boring and shite looking, and you're going, Christ, this South Africa won the World Cup and it looks like shit to watch, because it's just a game of Red Rover, all 14 fellas across the front, and it's just banging into each other. But then all of a sudden you look at like the likes of the All Blacks going, nah, it's grand. We'll start passing it out the back door and everything, keep it nice and fresh. Yeah. So there'll be always somebody, I think, are going to break down the barrier, and you still get light little fellas like the likes of Craig Casey at the weekend, or Damien McKenzie was playing, and they still look shit hot, So I think there'll be the fear of it. But I think the one improvement we probably discovered here this evening, we should really write a dossier or something, Dr. Peter, on just making the scrum sexier. Simple as that. Whatever they got to do, camera angles, whatever they got to do, we need to we need to coach up the commentators on what the fuck is happening.
Yeah.
And maybe...
Or have a scrum commentator, just 15 to 20 scrums, and they get to chat for like 10 seconds. Surely that's doable.
That's a really good point. An actual separate commentator. Like, imagine how pumped up he would be by the time he knows it's coming. He's like, the fucking scrum coming, lads. Right, put me in the game, right? And you're live there, Peter. Fucking live! Wait, I'll tell you about this scrum. Jeez! Imagine how pumped up you would be.
For fucking knock-ons. He's just praying for a knock-on. And then...
Drop it, you cunt!
And then when the referee says play on, waves it on, he said, you fucking bollocks. It was my time. Yeah. Hey, coach, give me a chance. Tag me in.
Coach.
I know I can do it. But no, it would look, but all seriously, to talk about what fucking backs moves and shit, surely there's enough, there for, because they actually show the scrum now. When I was playing, I'd be playing a match and you'd never see me because Sky Sports, the scrum would be, ready to fucking hit. You'd be getting all set. Sky Sports then would have some fucking full back, fixing his socks or something while the scrum's going on. And next thing, the scrum's finished and they're back into play. And, I think there's a little bit, used to annoy me a bit. Like, you can have the crack, but there's respect there, a fifth of the population of rugby play in the front row.
Yeah.
And, so you have to cater for us as well. Or you just go and play rugby league. Watch rugby league. Watch rugby league. Rugby league's a great game. It's a great game. Some great tries. All this kind of fancy stuff going on. Just go and watch that. So it's for everyone. But a scrum commentator, like how really difficult, and not just like your man there in the screen. The way. We'll just pan to whoever for 5 seconds once in a game. Yeah, that's not good enough. Every live scrum. Feed, and then eventually, if you do that for a season, can you imagine TG Carr did that for a season? Everyone would be talking about scrums off scale game.
Yeah, it'd be beautiful.
They'd be loving it.
I the fact that I don't know enough, but I'm smart enough to know that I don't know enough, but I'd love to know more. But I'd love to be hearing from an expert going, what we're looking at here is, look, the elbow's up here and why his elbow's up. Look, I can explain why he's stepping across there to hooer. And you know what I mean? And give it a full, I think it's remiss, especially of big time rugby, to leave that much on the plate. They're leaving it on the table. As you said, a fifth of the team plays there. They do. And anything up to 5 minutes of a game might be spent scrummaging. Yeah. You know what I mean? So and it can change, guys, and it can more, can really
can we help young lads really want to play there as well? Maybe that's another addition to it. So I'll put me hand up for the job anyway. So,
Perfect.
But they'll probably give it to Bernard Jackman or someone like that, the usual crack, But Bernard, I don't know how people can afford Jackman, but they seem to be. So fair play. Fair play to Bernard. Fucking hell. How many jobs is that fella? Raj. There must be 25 jobs between them.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't think Raj is happy at home and living at home or something. I don't know how. Even I was talking with Burst the other day. He was like, "Do you know what? I'd love to come on, but," and he named it was this paragraph of companies he was working for. I was like, "Say no more. Say no more."
And then he gave me my number. He said, "Oh, Bracken's probably doing fuck all. Give him a ring."
Well, to be fair, he goes, "He's right up your street." In fairness, he's right up your street. Now, do you know?
Cheers, Birch. Thanks for that.
No, he's right up your street. I think. Do you know what it is? He's frightened to get found out on his lack of knowledge of the front row. That's what that is. He says, "You need to talk to the doctor." The doc.
Yeah, we leave it at that. That's it. So,
Peter, the doc Bracken, this has been not just insightful, an absolute fucking blast. Thanks a million.
No bother, Tom. Yeah, and best of luck with the new show.
Thanks a million, man.
Yeah, it's going to be brilliant. And thanks for having me on. And yeah, I'd love to do it again sometime. Definitely.
Now I've got a fucking rake of questions. I'm going to wreck your head like one of those absolute Norses from now on. Just
pothole.
An absolute pothole. Yeah.
Trimby. Jesus, Trimby and Barry might get you, do you do any collaborations these days?
I would never collaborate. Never. Not with a musician. You won't catch a comedian crossing over with a magician. No way. I don't care if he scored several tries for Munster. No. Musicians, they hide behind the guitars. I don't want to know. The two boys are far too good looking for my liking. No offense, but you're a front rower, Peter. Yeah. You know what I mean? You're actually gorgeous as per front rowers. You know what I mean?
Well, thank you, Tom. Yeah. But I couldn't compete with Trimby.
Way too beautiful.
Imagine being the couch in the middle of two lads and they all dolled up,
Sure, anyway. Skinny jeans. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's not happening. It's not happening. That was the doctor himself, Peter Bracken, the Scrum doctor. What an absolute legend. He'll be back. We had a great chat. Even afterwards again. So my clatter of the week this week, there was a couple of all right ones, but at the same time, the one, it's not a bias thing, but Rory Scannell, I fucking love Rory Scannell. You know that? Gets the head down, gets the job done. Fucking cannon have a left boot. And then the 74th minute against the Sharks, they were swinging out wide, and Cowan Bosch kind of went to cut back inside a small bit off him. And he went to swing outside, and Scannell just dumped him in the perfectly just at 74 minutes in. And he had a lot of work done at that stage. That's more so for me what it is. He fucking boned him. Have a look at this. Bones him. Yeah. I fucking love that. I love that. He just 74 minutes in, nothing flash, gets up, no screaming in the guy's face, just fucking bones him. That's it. Good night and thanks for the use of the hall. Turn off the lights when you're finished. Mary, where'll I leave the keys? Do you know what I mean? Clatter of the week. Your man would have felt it a little bit too, you know what I mean? If nothing else, just a little bit demoralized. That was it. That was the game. Done and dusted. 74 minutes in. Okay. They were never going to come back at that stage. But what it did was it put a right old injection of pace into the game after that. Munster fucking flew through that beautiful fucking out the backs. And that's what I'm talking about. The backs, if you're worried about front row, whatever, in Munster, from 4 backwards, on the off days when you don't have your fully loaded front row, get it out to the fucking backs. Look what they're able to do with it. And Rory Scannell, he may or may not, he'll be thereabouts, but, of course, he's got Damien de Lande to deal with. But at the same time, clatter of the week, boom, up your fucking shirt. Good night and thank you very much. Right, that has been episode 2 of the Cracked Rugby podcast. My thanks, of course, to Dr. Peter Bracken. Thank you all to everybody who's gotten in contact. If you do want to support the show, the Patreon link is there. If you want to get to know me even more, there's a bunch of other stuff up there from previous, like all the videos are exclusive. There's a bunch of the Ramble Pod ones that I'm doing, and I'll be doing one tonight Wednesday night as you'll hear this. And of course, there is the episode 200 live from the Roisin Dove is up there too. Just look for the tag of videos and you'll find it. Absolute rake of stuff. It helps support the show. And eventually this one will be going behind the paywall as well. But for now, thank you all very much. Have a lovely week, and I'll chat to you again next Tuesday. Good luck.